did in mid-May was we did our annual CTE Spring Showcase, which was another successful showcase showing off student work and all the hard work of the Pathway teachers. And next slide, at that event, go ahead and do the next slide. We also awarded our CTE completers, so there were, I think, 20 seniors who finished a CTE pathway and earned, which means they did a certain amount of coursework and a capstone project and earned their cord. So that was a really healthy percentage of the senior class. We also did a scholarship night. Ultimately, by the end of the year, we had about 17 scholarship winners for over $120,000. So that was a highly successful scholarship session. We had a student art show representing the visual arts as well as wood shop. You can see the stool there is actually a wood shop project. Thought I'd slip a board member in there. Thanks for coming out. Senior trip, went to Santa Cruz, or did an overnight down at Santa Cruz, and oh, there's that board member again popping up. It's like, where's Waldo? And again, real successful. I think it was a really nice bonding occasion for the seniors. They got very nostalgic the last week or so of school and really bonded well. So. We did have our annual film festival presentation. These two presented their film called Town Destroyer, which is about a mural at a high school in San Francisco that was very controversial. And it was just, we took the approach of having them show a clip and then ask our students questions, and it was really great to hear the students give some very interesting takes on the situation and very thoughtful comments, so that was fun to hear. Our students also, under both our CSF club and under our media program, did a lot of work at the film festival, so it's great when our students are getting out in the community and interacting in that way. The upper campus is coming together nicely. I just thought I would show the vast amount of public that's watching tonight that the bricks are there and the picture frames are there as well. Those are the two most important things. So, but you also can see a classroom with some furniture set up and what it could look like, the different configurations of desks and things. So we are moving. We'll get to the moving part a little bit later. Go ahead, next slide. So I enjoy attending 4 graduations every year. The first one is always our continuation school. There are 4 graduates from Sunrise. There they are. The next one is the K-8 graduation. It was a really nice ceremony this year, and Josh Potter did a great job speaking, as did the students. So I'd like to see what's coming our way next year. Then we have the community school. 11 students graduated from the community school this year. And again, it was a really nice ceremony. And then on Friday, we had the high school graduation. We had 32 graduates from the high school. And again, just real heartfelt ceremony. Jason and I both had kids up on the stage with us, which was a pretty special moment. And I did say in the speech that they had some last, like they're the last class to graduate from that stage. They were the last class to occupy the freshman hallway. And I said they didn't really get any first, but they actually kind of did. This was the first class to occupy a classroom in the new building. Now, they didn't learn anything. They all just wanted to sit in the desk. So, so they can decide if they want to be the first class to have taken place in the new school or not. But they were really excited. Currently, this is what most of the school looks like. That's what a PE program in a portable looks like. And all the other rooms, boxes are starting to move back and forth. There's boxes starting to collect up top in the classrooms, and the big shuffle is starting to happen. So one of the nice things with these storm days, which I have rebranded as bonus days, the 2 bonus days that we had, the students that came in got community service for helping to move, and we got a lot done. We got whole programs moved from one place to another thanks to the kids. We had the whole edge of the track on the soccer field. The inner edge of the track was Mr. Sosnovec and some students sort of did the edging of that section there so they can scrape the track. And so a lot got done. That was a good use of those 2 days. A couple grants, these came through actually all today. So that's pretty exciting. We got a $100,000 CCAP grant for dual enrollment work and continuing work on that. Our enrichment grant, which we've received 2 prior years, was renewed, and so this will be used to, rather than giving senior scholarships that they may or may not go on and use, this will be used to build capacity of our students and send them to workshops and different things. And what we feel is, one, it builds capacity of our students, gets them engaged, but it also, what it also does is it makes them more able to then go out and get more scholarship money when they are seniors, because they will have all these activities and even relationships with organizations that give scholarships. So that's nice. We also found out today that there is it's a living trust, but I just put it on here. It's not money we can access now, but we learned about it today. That is specifically for Francis and the ELAB program. And so as long as the ELAB program is there and Francis is there, at some point there will be this trust that has a certain percentage dedicated to that program. I just put that in there, not so much for the money part of it, but it's just neat that someone recognizes that program enough that they included it along with, a bunch of other local organizations. They saw the value of having that in our school, which was pretty neat. We do have a retirement this year. We have celebrated Penny in several different ways, but just wanted to acknowledge that one last time. And so that brings us to the end.
So in terms of, I guess Don's going to answer this question too, but where we are in terms of the punch list and things like that. But I guess when do you feel that it'll be a livable campus again? Back in August,
Well, I mean, we are moving stuff in right now, and I've been letting teachers in. It's definitely not at a point where I can give everyone keys and say, have at it. We need to get the office occupied, and we need to be in there and set up in order to do that. So, right. Yeah, I think it'll be ready by August for certain. But we have a lot of other things to do that are beyond the punch list, like getting Wi-Fi together and projectors in, and figuring out how to clean the floor and all that kind of stuff. Right. Getting the custodial staff up to speed on how to take care of the building. I don't want to get too far ahead in terms of all that. So they're like moving stuff into their closets, and they have to get established up there. Right. Also, and to take care of it. I feel like those are the 2 most important things. Like, we need an office in there so there's people there to look after the building, and we need the custodial to get to wrap their heads around how they're going to take care of the building. So there's a lot of those little pieces that we need to figure out. But Don can report on it. But they're working through the punch list. It's really just seems like it's just Will and Brian there doing a lot of this stuff. What are they, the foreman or project manager? Yeah. So it's getting done. I'll tell you, when we took the seniors up there, it was really fun. Even though it almost didn't matter that they're missing out on it all. They were just so excited and so blown away. I can't repeat the things they were saying, but they were just very excited about all the things. They're like, this is nicer than any college campus we've ever seen. And, it was just, I kind of strategically guided them so it was sort of increasingly impressive things, And, everything was just, every turn or looking into any building, they were just blown away. So, they hadn't seen it throughout, so they saw it from 0 to completed, and it was impressive. So that was heartwarming and, gratifying to see that that's the reaction the students had.
Is that perimeter fence just going to be repurposed along the new construction area, or?
I would assume so. They said they're taking it down like this
looks
week or next
pretty-
week. Yeah.
Pretty unstable at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of holes in it, but,
I think it's gonna come down, and then it's gonna go back up
Okay.
yep,
Okay.
yeah.
in a
Yeah.
different place.
Yeah. Any questions for Tobin?
Tobin, you mentioned there were around 20 CTE completers and the scholarship money, 123,000. How many graduates are going on to four-year colleges or universities?
Oh, I'd have to look, and I don't have that percentage on the top of my head. There's a fair number who are taking gap years, so it's pretty hard to know how that's gonna end up. Are they gonna go on to college or not, you know? So, yeah, I don't have that number yet, no.
And did those numbers also include the comm school? The scholarship numbers?
Yes, all the CTE and scholarships include both schools. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So Jason, are you up next?
Yeah, so
They don't know that.
I just want to call out a couple of things on the consent agenda. The scholarships, Tobin already mentioned, so I'll just, I won't mention that again, even though I just did. I'd like to call out the dub box that Muse donated to our district. They were given a dub box, which is essentially a Volkswagen bus that has the top lifts up, and there's it's a servery. So you can serve concessions out of there, you can heat food up, keep food cool, and the value is something like $50,000 or $60,000. So that's exciting. We're going to use that for the culinary program a little bit next year, but then in the future, just use it to raise money for our programs. And then, not on the agenda, but last week it was, that the Comfrey School community raised $3,000 for a playground. But we just got word that there's been an additional $3,000 donation from someone in the community. So that's $6,000 towards a playground. We already received a $25,000 USDA grant for a playground in Comfrey. So everything's ordered. The ramp is now to the specifications that the ramp going down to the playground has been fixed. And so we're moving forward, and we should have a new playground in Comfrey by the start of the school year, if everything goes on time. And then another thing on the consent agenda is the agreement with CCM to run after-school programming and summer programming. This is kind of a big deal. We're going to get about $175,000, we think, at least, to contribute to that program, and we need to offer 9 hours of instruction. So that's in addition to the school, so 9 hours includes the school day. So we'll offer programming at CCM until 5:30. Every school day, and then 30 days of summer programs. The priority goes to low-income students and homeless students, so we'll reach out to those families first for registration, but we hope that families use this program.
The summer part of that is for the following summer.
Right, so it doesn't start this summer. And then we had our annual end-of-year gathering. We kind of picked a bad day. There were a lot of field trips, out-of-town trips happening, and people were busy. So it was a pretty small turnout, but it was still nice for those that attended. So we were able to celebrate Penny on that day. That's all I have.
Any impression of the new bus yet?
Oh, right. Yeah, I should have said that too. We didn't know we were getting it until Friday, and they said, we're delivering a new electric school bus on Monday. And so, sure enough, on Monday it came, and it's beautiful.
Is it yellow?
It is yellow. It has a little green symbol on the top, kind of signifying electric. So we will have that up and running by the start of the school year. We'll see.
So you can't tell it from a distance that it's an electric
You
bus?
can't tell, no.
How many passengers is it?
I don't know. It's
55.
It's not the super long one. It's more of the probably 60, probably.
55, I think.
Yeah.
Do you know how many miles it goes on a single charge?
I don't, and so I think that varies based on terrain and speeds that you're going. So
That's what
we've heard.
Seal was saying that, and I think one of our facilities being built, they're very much dependent on the driver.
And the driver, correct.
The range.
Yeah. So we've heard positive things, we've heard negative things, so we'll see how it goes. We're a little nervous about it, for sure, but.
Which
it's
route
pretty
is it
set.
going on?
I think it'll, it'll be the local bus to start until we get a handle on what it can be.
Right.
The local Casper Little River
Right.
bus.
Is Diane online to,
Diana? Nope.
is there anybody else who is going to speak on behalf of MTA
I don't think so.
or CMIS?
Nope.
Okay, we'll go on to item 9.1 then. Oh, board trustee reports, sorry.
The most
Start
important
with,
part.
Emily.
Just briefly, I had the pleasure of attending a few promotion and graduation ceremonies. My son graduated from 8th grade. That was a lovely ceremony. And 5 of the students spoke, and those speeches were lovely. I have to mention that 4 of the 5 were girls basketball players, so I was very proud of them. Yeah, just further reinforcing that basketball players are the best, of course, as Bella knows. And I attended Fort Bragg High School's graduation, and I attended Mendocino High School's graduation. I will say I was struck by the sense of community and family at the Mendocino High School graduation. The speeches, Tobin, I thought, gave a wonderful speech. John Moran, our 6th grade teacher, gave a fantastic speech that the graduates really connected with. The students that spoke really moved me in a way that I was really pleasantly surprised and enjoyed it. I think this is the first graduation ceremony I've been to since mine, so I was impressed. And I also will say, I paid attention to things like, Fort Bragg had something like somewhere around 120 graduates. I'll say it could be even more, and they, touted their $300,000 worth of scholarships that they got. We had 32 graduates with $123,000 in scholarships. So I did that math, and we came out looking really good and punching above our weight right there. So yeah, it was really good for me to see.
Similar comments to Emily. I went to the high school graduation. Tobin, as always, gives an incredibly good speech. I really enjoyed every speech I've heard over the years. And I was a little surprised in an important way by student speeches, just realizing what these 4 years have been like for that class with COVID and construction. It's not normal high school, and they powered through it, but boy, what an experience.
I'll pass.
No, I mean, I'll echo the others' comments too. I mean, I thought it was a very fine class of young adults. I mean, you could definitely tell the adult in them on that occasion. And it was, wonderful to see them so poised and articulate. So, all right, we'll go on to 9.1. Modernization and construction update.
I'm glad Tobin had pictures. I didn't have pictures because the GM, that. That wasn't even looking at it. See where I Anyway, but,
You want to move the microphone so it actually, you can move the microphone around if you want to be where
No,
you're
I don't want to
standing.
upset his card here. No, I'm good. Anyway, I wanted to echo, what Tobin said. It's wrapping up now. I think Tobin's feeling a little more comfortable about moving in partially next week. And, we're down to putting in window sills that were late on arrival. So it's coming along. And then on the dollar side, I'm feeling good about it because now I could unallocate allowances that we didn't spend. And I know there's a couple more change events that they've been talking about, but I haven't seen. But I feel pretty good about the numbers. I feel confident about moving on to phase 2, knowing that these numbers are going to be solid. So that's where we sit right now. It's in more detail in your report, but the gist of it is I'm feeling good about the phase 1 numbers locking down, and that bolsters us moving forward to phase two. So, next slide. Okay, so, and some of this, since I sent this in earlier, it's probably a little outdated, but basically they're down to cleaning up the exterior, the interior, putting in the window sills that just arrived, I think today, in fact. Most of the electricals, actually all the electricals in, I'm not aware of any other than after the construction. Like security cameras is not part of this construction. We got to deal with that. And like Thomas said, custodians got to get used to what to clean and all. And we get an O&M manual, an owner's maintenance manual that I've got it piecemeal and electronically because we're waiting on some of the other ones. So I've shared piecemeal to the custodians so they know how to do the floors already. So we're down to the punch list and owner's manual, warranties and all that for the most part. There is a couple of things that were added, like they want to put air conditioning in the computer closet because that originally the mechanical engineer didn't think we needed it in there, but given the number of servers in there, we're adding that. So there's some other add-ons that are still coming, but for the most part, it's time to move in and get settled. So, okay, next slide.
So when do you think all that will be finished?
I just got a number for the mechanical unit for the IDF. It'll probably take 2 weeks, I imagine. I think within the month we should be done with the extras that we've asked for. And the seals ought to be done, probably not tomorrow, but maybe by the end of the week. There's quite a few windows to put window seals on. So I'm trying to think if there's anything
There's
else.
that, there's the window in the staff room that's months out. That
Oh,
was a
right.
mistake. That had to be reordered. So they'll be coming back.
Yeah,
with
if
that.
you look at the staff window on the west side, there's a oddball window there. That's a temporary window, because I think the one they ordered was wrong, so they have to order the correct one, and all these windows have long lead items, so we opted to put a window in there temporarily. They'll come back during phase two and put that window in, or the permanent window in. I think anything else out there. The picture frames. The picture frame manufacturer took the liberty of tweaking the design a little bit, and we're not too sure about it, so we're going to test it out with the pictures. So that might be some adjustments on that one, but that's an important one. But right now there are picture frames up on the walls ready for pictures. I think Tobo was going to bring some sample pictures after graduation to see if the improvised frames will work. We have our doubts a little bit, so that's probably where we are with that. These are just a list of the change events to date. There'll be a few more, but it left a lot. Left not as much as we'd like, but it left a good measure of the contingency to roll over to phase two. We're hoping to have more, but things come up.
So we ended up using about 80% of our,
Right, when we wanted to really use 50%. And what we spent on is about par or below par what's typical for a modernization, particularly of a building this old. The older the building gets, the higher the percentage gets, because it's just wacky things that happen when you start opening up old walls compared to relatively new walls. So I think we're sitting pretty good on phase two. On phase one, and feeling good about rolling into phase two. So, next slide. Okay, this is our beginning budget for phase two in summary. And we'll speak more about the GMP, but basically the GMP was done in kind of two stages. You remember last month we did mechanical, electrical, and advanced. They bid the rest of the job in advance of getting the permit, and we're going to talk about that today. But if you add the two numbers together, it's within the budget that we've been expecting. That on top of being able to fold in some of the allowances we didn't spend, I'm feeling pretty good about phase two. Next slide. So where we are with phase two is Lathrop bid the job as if it was ready to go. QK is still arm wrestling with DSA to get a permit. We're not allowed to award a contract until we have a permit. And QK has a meeting this Thursday or Friday with DSA. So I'm hoping within the week and a half, we'll have the permit, and then we'll be able to request that we see you guys again to award it. But until then, we can only really discuss the merits of what the bid was, but we can't award it yet.
So in terms of DSA approval, they may change things that cause us to need rebids on some of the items?
No, because the DSA approval process is you submit the plans, they make a slew of comments and questions. Those got addressed, and that's where things really change. In fact, there were a lot of addendums during the bid process because it was a moving target with DSA. So, I mean, there is a chance that when they meet with them in person, there might be one or two small items that will have to be negotiated, but the lion's share of changes occurred kind of simultaneously with that first. What it is you submit, they give comments, and then it's called back check. Basically, you're resubmitting and saying, here, I addressed this, I addressed that, and that's the process we're in right now. So unless they come up with some new thing that they didn't put in the original comments, it will be covered in the GMP already.
So if hypothetically DSA grants approval at the end of this week or the beginning of next week, and we go ahead and I think we're meeting on the 26th of June? 28th of June. Approve the GMP at that point.
Yeah.
How soon would construction start?
I think they're already, I mean, we're already starting to move out, and they're starting to mobilize as much as they can. And we already awarded to mechanical and electrical, so the submittals could come in and they could order the equipment. So in essence, it's already started. But there is, they need to move or get rid of those trailers and put trailers down by the tech room or tech building. There's a little bit of that, which will probably take 2 weeks or something like that once we get
You're
going.
talking about the construction company's trailers that have been up on the,
Right, yeah, there's a little hitch. Right now, the power for some of the temporary stuff is suspended on their trailer. That's why it hasn't left yet, because we don't want to unplug other things. So they're figuring that out. But ultimately, they'll have another encampment down by the tech building, and we'll be totally off of the hill. So I think that's where we are, other than our discussion on GMP. Is that
I
another?
just want to ask another question about construction. I mean, do you
Sure.
think
No,
that
go-
there'll be major construction going on in July and August, or not?
Definitely August, July, I think there'd be some major demolition, yeah. Once we cut them free. I think the tech building's getting cleared out. I've had at least one container, and I've got another one coming to start hauling stuff out of there, so I think they're poised to move. And the kind of gentleman's agreement is to try to get as much done on the gym as possible, to give that back, at least so we could have sports in the fall. And that hasn't changed. So, I think once we're cut free, I think they're gonna hit the ground running.
Okay.
All righty. Do you want to talk about GMP, or is that another item coming up? I don't have agenda in front of me.
It's another item,
Okay.
but it's the next item, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll stay
Are
put
there any
then.
questions about Phase 1 at this point?
I just had a historical question. When did we pass the bond?
March of 2020.
So 4-year process, basically, start to finish, or 5 year, almost 5 years,
Well, 20 to, yeah, 20 to 24.
and 4 years after
If you're
that.
counting phase two.
Yeah.
Not to announce.
That's pretty typical. Not out of the ordinary. I know a lot of times I get involved in these finance people want to get a bond passed, and they want to show something the next summer, like, oh, we're spending the money, we're doing it, it's like, we can't, So, but yeah, it does take a little while to get the ball rolling. Some of it's frustrating trying to get I've got projects where I'm the architect and I'm getting a back check from DSA, and, I'm becoming a curmudgeon, I tell you. They drive you nuts, so.
So we can move on to the GMP if people are ready. Okay.
Okay. So the way it works is they bid all these packets that are individual subcontracts, with the exception of the mechanical electrical, which was already bid. And that number's down at the bottom, not to be confusing. Let me get to the right page here.
So I want to ask a question about all these add-ons. Are they all things that we can afford under our budget? Is that what it boils down to?
In your report, you have my budget here with the soft costs and the construction. Yeah, what I factored in was, if you add all that up, except for our owner's contingency, the gym and tech's about 8.3 million. You won't see that math in here because I did it for this. And then the allowances, we have 192,500 for allowances, which are a number of categories like railing repair and stuff that's really hard to quantify. That's part of the GMP base bid, let's call it. Then we had a number of alternates to see if we could afford it. The first one being exterior windows, which was 702,000. Alternate 2, paint the exterior of the gym, 55,000, some change. Alternate 3 is a paint exterior tech building, almost 20,000. And then the fourth alternate, the last one, was 108,000 for an exterior tech building re-roofing. Looking at the budget I laid out, assuming where we are with the phase 1 dollars, we could award all of them. I'm hesitant to recommend awarding the Windows one because that involves another round with DSA, deferred approval. It could get really squirrely. So while we could afford all of them, my recommendation would be to do all the alternates except for the windows. I don't really take a lot of exception to the wood windows out there already, so.
Don, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that was my inclination too, being completely an expert in this and not involved
Yeah.
in the early process.
Yeah.
But
And
to spend
again-
$700,000 on windows that sounds like aren't necessary because they weren't in their initial piece.
Yeah, I mean,
I
the
could find a
newer
lot of ways to
windows would
spend
be more
$700,000.
thermally isolated and more energy efficient, but it takes a lot of heating bills to get back to 702 that you put in there. And those windows are historic, and they look fine to me. I mean, I didn't go out there with a pocket knife and see how much rot's there, but I think it
So-
also gives a little more wiggle room, you know? For
If we
there's-
don't do those windows, and if we end up with that 700,000 plus maybe some of the overage from phase 1, can we do something with that? Can we still use it? Can we choose
I'm
to spend it on something
I'm
else?
figuring everything in this budget here. And what might not be completely apparent is we had other campus or other buildings that we took out. The one I kept in is the one we talked about keeping in. Is this budget also includes just shy of 300,000 for the community school construction. That's part of the overall
Yeah,
budget still.
I saw that.
I'm glad you noticed that. Good. So I'm not the most optimistic guy in the trailer usually, and I'm feeling pretty good about this one now. Particularly if we have even the additional wiggle room of not awarding the 702,000. I think we'll be walking in pretty good shape. And then as far as the GMP itself,
But
I think
I'm sorry, my question was, if we choose not to do those windows, and assuming that we don't spend that 700,000 somewhere else, can we decide to use it on something else?
oh, most definitely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would either go to add on to the next step of doing the community school or bring back a couple of the other ones that we backed out already. But yeah, most definitely, it's bond money, it can be used for construction.
Okay.
So what size generator is taken care of in this bid?
I'm 99% sure it's a smaller generator. The one we settled on, which was the smaller of the two.
I think that you're right, and that's one of the things I would like to discuss. So even if we don't buy the larger generator, I think you and I talked about this, Dawn,
Yeah,
coming up with I think it was, I discussed with the Dawn, I think it was too late to get a bid alternate, but to look at the price to have the wiring completed to
Yeah.
potentially accommodate the larger one. And I don't think I ever got clear on what we were and weren't getting between the two different
yeah, we need to,
sizes, but I think it was pretty limited with the smaller one.
yeah, it was fairly limited.
And I
but-
feel like if.
And
there's
that was last
additional
month's
funding,
bid, or
that's-
the one you already awarded was part, that was that part of that one, not this one. But, you know, with not awarding the windows and getting a little further down the road and feeling better about it, we could always negotiate as long as we feel good about the subcontractor, the electrical subcontractor.
Can you do some research on that before our meeting to approve the GMP?
Yeah, I can have some discussions with Lathrop and maybe Alvin, the electrical engineer.
That would be something we'd want to decide really soon in terms of some of the core wiring,
Yeah,
correct?
but it doesn't really affect this GMP award because it was the piece that was already awarded last month, so.
Right.
I wouldn't hinge this GMP on that discussion, but it's a discussion we should have.
It would be a change, technically.
Yeah, it would be a-
It's too
it would be a
late to-
change.
It's too late to modify. I mean, we'd be asking the general to go back and rebid, which, the electrical portion, which I don't think we want to do.
Well, we already awarded it because the
We awarded,
equipment-
we awarded
Yeah,
a
so
portion of it.
We'd
right.
have to negotiate a change event with the electrical subcontractor we already awarded.
Right.
And that-
The part that we already awarded, did that include the generator?
Yes,
The actual generator itself as well as the wiring for it?
yes, it was a smaller generator, yeah. And that was the first bid, the mechanical electrical. So it doesn't affect the bid that the GMP we're looking at now, because it's in that bottom number where there's 1,000,001 from last month's. It's part of that, and that's said and done already unless we want to negotiate something after the fact. It's hard to read some of those things, it's pretty small. You see at the bottom of this sheet that's up on the screen, there's actually not 1,000,001, 1,000,003 was the earlier procurement. The generator's in that number. The generator's in that number.
Yeah, no, I see what you're talking about.
Okay.
And what's the difference in cost between the small and large generator?
I'd have to go back, that was in
I
the,
recall somewhere in the realm of 200 and something thousand.
More additional for the larger.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, given now where we land, we could go back and negotiate and assume that we're gonna, if we don't do the windows, to use part of that for that.
It's a question worth asking.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to go back and so comparing apples and apples, but in that, in your presentation, in terms of funding for Phase 2, did you already take out the 703,000?
No, I don't believe I have.
So on this slide here,
Yes.
this is, let's see.
Yeah, it's mixed up in a different way. I'll double check, but I don't believe I have. I was assuming. Basically, I think I ran the number, this column here, which was assuming all alternates awarded, so.
Well, I'm looking, you've got construction at 8.6 million, right? And so I'm trying to get to that number with the number on the GMP, which is a higher number, isn't it? I mean, maybe I'm not reading.
No, if you add it together, well, what's a little bit of a trickery is the GMP also includes the owner's contingency, and I like to isolate that
Uh-huh.
because that's our discretionary
Right.
money. So that's what kind of throws you for a loop a
See.
little bit.
Sometimes it's hard to find the right document.
Yeah, there's a detailed one in your, that
Okay, so you're
list.
saying that where we have the GMP total on the bottom of the base bid of $9.2 million,
million.
that's the 8.6 and the 697. You add those together, you get the 9.2.
Yeah, probably, given maybe one item or another, but yeah, it should come out pretty close to that. I'll double check. So,
Well, it's interesting that, it would seem that the estimating that both Q&A did and Lathrop did was much more accurate in terms of what the bids actually came in at than our first round.
much so, yeah, it's surprising, huh?
And looking at the number of bids that were made, and, I mean, there were like, what are there? 20-something bid packages. And I think only a couple of them had as few as 2 bidders.
Yeah,
And they solicited, usually 8 or 9 bids for each one, even if they only got 4 or 5.
yeah, I think the only one that got one bid was the lockers, which was a nominal sum of, I don't know, less than 20 grand or something like that, if I
Yeah.
look in. All the others had at least 2 bids. Some had more.
So that process seemed to go better this time than it did.
It did. I mean, behind the scenes, they kind of pulled their hair out because because while we're going through the DSA approval process, QK kept feeding in addendums that were addressing that, so it'd get covered, and, so it was like who's on first and who's on second sometimes, But I think all in all, I mean, the net result is we have a GMP that I don't think DSA will be changing unless they come up with some wild hair on their back check.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't easy on the contractor or the subs, because it was pretty dynamic for a couple of weeks there, as far as, we're bidding this, now we're changing this, we're bidding this yet, so.
We paid Lathrop, I can't remember what it was, $20,000 or $30,000 for value engineering. Do you think
Yeah.
that paid for itself?
It might have been a result of ultimately coming out with a bid that was to our budget, yeah. Because you recall last time, the TBD is an estimator for QK. Their number was quite a bit different than Lathrop's the first time around. Now, after the value engineering, they kind of tightened up, and they both, I told them what the budget was, and they worked towards it, and they got to it. And I wasn't totally optimistic they were going to get to it. So I think it helped in that front that we're coming up with we're not talking about coming up with another 300,000 or 400,000, So,
Well, having spent much of the last year and a half worried that we'd have to cut something out in order
Yeah.
to be able to afford it, and not finding that our situation, I'm much relieved.
yeah, I'm more on the optimistic camp myself now. I was a worrywart there for a while too. So like I said, we can't award it because the law doesn't allow us to award until there's a permit. So, but I wanted to get it out there so when we do have a time to award it, the questions have been out there. Well, that's a better view. So, all righty. Any other questions?
So is the goal for us to hopefully put this on the June 28th agenda as well?
As long as we have DSA approval.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll have to have a special meeting.
Right, I just wanted to
Yeah.
confirm that that's the case.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. All right, I'll wait for, there's one more item with the.
There is
One
one
more.
more.
You're up here for the next one, too.
Oh, okay,
Comment
good.
first, though, at 6 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. It's 6 o'clock, so we're going to break for public comment. If there's an item not on the agenda that somebody wants to speak about. When we get to that agenda item, then we'll have public comment, for sure. Is there anybody online who's raised their hand for public parent community comment?
I see no one.
All right, so Don, we'll come back, and the next item, 9.3, is hiring an inspector of record for Phase 2.
Right, as part of school jobs are different than like going out and getting a city permit to do a house. We get the permit from the state, and then we have to hire an independent contractor that's certified as a DSA inspector to be the inspector during the job. And we can't start construction, we can't do anything until we have an inspector. Last time around, I had Phil Morton, inspector I've worked with for the last 20 years. He was my go-to guy. I tried a lot to have him return for phase 2. The drive got a little bit to him, and QKA had 4 jobs in Ukiah, which he lives in Ukiah, so I consider there's 2 DSA inspectors in all of Mendocino County. There's actually 3, which I'll explain, but for the last 20 years, there's only been 2 inspectors in Mendocino County. Presently, this summer, between the 2 of them, they have 16 jobs that they're inspecting. So I had to go find another inspector for phase 2. I learned of this other inspector about a year ago when I did a little job in Point Arena, because he lives in Point Arena. I have him in Fort Bragg because I couldn't get anybody to be an inspector in Fort Bragg either. He's an inspector that mostly worked out of Santa Clara County. He's semi-retired in Point Arena, and I've got him in Fort Bragg, and he's given us a proposal to do phase 2 here, which I'm appreciative in one respect. The other respect is I'm used to Phil or Clay. I'm used to the way they build, the way they propose things. This one's a little bit different. But we don't have the luxury of Phil or Clay on this one. I did reach out to 5 other inspectors in Sonoma County, none of which I only got 2 return calls, and they were cordial to know that I could get them work in the future, but they were busy or they weren't interested in coming here. So Chris McKay is the gentleman that's got the proposal there, and I've worked him over a little bit because I was more comfortable with the way Philip and Clay does their budget or their proposal. So what you have in front of you now is probably the effort of a couple weeks of negotiation with Chris. Chris is, I mean, the other problem we have, I mean, like I said, there's only 2 inspectors, is all the inspectors are like 68 years or older. It's, you know, Phil keeps threatening to retire by the end of the year, so we're soliciting for new blood to come here, because
It seems like a very high-paying job.
you know, it's a good paying job that doesn't require a lot of manual labor. So, and traditionally, a lot of contractors become inspectors in the 48-year range. If I figure out that they're a little old for swinging a hammer, and it's a good job. I mean, you're an independent contractor. You're certified by DSA, and if you want to travel a little bit, it's a good job, actually, a really good job. Phil started when he was 55. He was a little older. They have different classes. They've got class 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 4 is kind of more, and it's backwards, I always remember. 1 is the highest. DSA 1 is they could do any school project. DSA 3 do most any project in Mendocino County, type, you know, wood frame. DSA 2 is a lot of modular or simple bathroom remodels and stuff. So they work their way up through that by getting a couple years experience. And also there's another world out there that's hospitals have their own inspectors. I call them OSHPD. That's what they used to be called. They changed their name. So some inspectors are also OSHPD inspectors, and they inspect for hospital work. Those are the 2 isolated ones that are not county or city, that are specialized. So.
Don, Chris's letter suggested that there would be a rate schedule attached, but I didn't see it. Did he submit that?
I asked him to pull it. It was confusing.
Oh,
Actually, Winsford and I looked at it, and, you know, I kind of ignored it in the past. What it is he came probably from, there's kind of 2 ways to get DSA inspectors. Like in the Bay Area proper, there are companies, CM companies, or testing lab companies that hire DSA inspectors as employees. So they have a rate, for a different rate for a DSA 1 versus a DSA 2. Chris is a DSA 2. That attachment it was basically cribbed from a bigger company, and we're not going to have a DSA 1. We're not going to have a DSA 3. So it was kind of a more confusing and more of a moot point with the attachment. So we looked it over and we discussed it's not relevant to this project.
So it's just a flat fee of $3,000 a week? And what does he mean by the project duration scheduled? No matter how long it takes, we're paying him $3,000 a week?
Yeah, I've had him go less than that a little bit, but he also goes a little higher. He does track his hours a bit. That 3,000 is assuming a half time. And for the most part, it will be half-time. There may be, if we get a lot of dry rot, there may be some weeks that go above that. I mean, I had a real arm wrestle with him to get something that I felt good about. Because I'm just used to working with Phil and Clay. And they really keep a tight look at their hours and stuff. So it's a more comfortable environment for me, so.
If you look at where we're at right now with phase 1, it's almost finished, and
Yeah.
yet the project hasn't been closed out. And I'm assuming we have to keep the inspector on until the project is closed out.
Yeah,
And so, kind of to what Emily's bringing up, if
Right.
we're at this stage in phase 2, and he's still making 3,000 a week, and yet he might not be here at all.
Yeah, I've worked him up a little bit on Fort Bragg on that account. I mean, it's not hard and fast. But it doesn't say that in there, yeah.
So do you think he would be willing to modify anything to clarify that? And likewise, at the outset also, when is who kind of fires the starting gun, as it were?
He does when we tell him
Is it
to.
when he brings his books and puts them in the trailer when the billing starts?
No, basically, when we get the DSA permit, he has to file a DSA 102, which says start of construction. The architect or I would fill out the 102. Usually the architect will fill out the 102. The DSA won't accept it until we have a DSA 5, which is approval for inspector.
Right.
Once we get the DSA 5 approval, then the moment we send in the 102 is the time that it would start.
And that would make sense. I think there would be more work for the inspector on the front end to familiarize themselves
Right.
with the project. So I can
Right.
see that, even though it might not appear that anything's happening yet, they might be doing some work.
Yeah.
But towards the end, especially, I hope, maybe this one will
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of wrap up more cleanly.
Yeah, hopefully it'll wrap it a little bit more cleanly. And there is work behind the scenes. They have to file certain reports to the state on a bi-weekly so they're,
Right.
even if they're not inspecting, they've got to report to the state on what activity there is. So, I mean, as a comparison, when I first shared this with WindSpirit, the number was 3,900 a week, and I wasn't living with it. And he was a little hesitant. Well, he looked at the plans. Well, there's a lot of dry rot, then it might, so this has been a little bit of back and forth on it, but.
So the anticipated end date is January 2024?
Right, yeah.
You have a line item for an inspector somewhere here.
I do have a line
Definitely
item,
more
and
than-
it's.
more than covers it, I think.
It's more than covers it, yeah. I mean, typically what happens with Phil, like phase 1, is he gives me a number, I carry a number, and he usually doesn't get into his, usually we're 2 or 3 months beyond, and we're still using his budget number. Is that the case with Chris? I don't know yet. I haven't had enough lengthy projects
Well,
with
if
him.
we're paying him by the week, it'll just keep going up the longer the project takes.
Pardon me?
I mean, if we're paying him $3,000 a week, it's just going to keep being $3,000 a week until we're done. We could be sitting here waiting for a generator for a month
Yeah.
when everything else is done.
I
We're still
would
paying him
work on it. I
$3,000.
mean, I was successful in Fort Bragg because he was like 8,000. No, he's about 16,000 a month there. And now that we're a little slower there, it's more like 8,000 a month. So, I mean, it gets to a point where he recognizes that he's not bringing more value, he's not justifying the value there in the past, but
I'm just
been a-
concerned that the contract says we're going to pay them 3,000 a week for the duration of the project
Yeah.
schedule. And maybe more is what the next sentence says, but not,
Yeah.
that it would ever go down or be
Yeah.
less. Like, we don't really have any leverage in the language of his letter to,
Yeah, the only leverage we
negotiate
got
that.
is I got him to reduce it from 39 to 3
yeah.
from the get-go.
It's messy because he didn't change his cover letter, even though he pulled the second page.
There are a lot of messy things about his cover letter.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But it was worse with the second page because it totally didn't make sense.
I believe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be
Based on
totally
page one.
reasonable to ask him to change his cover letter. It's unfortunate that there's such a shortage that,
Yeah, I mean, if it got egregious, at the end of the job, we could dismiss him and I'd get Phil back here to close it out or somebody to close it out, so.
it's at our discretion, we can dismiss.
Yeah, but we'd have to have
Then the
somebody.
work would have to stop, or there'd have to be someone ready to sign on.
Yeah, we'd have to have somebody ready to sign on, yeah. But it's different when you're at the end than in the middle, you know? You don't want to be in the throngs of things to do something like that. But, I mean, that's even the case with the architect. I mean, I've had projects where I've had to reassign an architect with DSA, so it's another process. And it's not one you want to do, but, if we're sitting there watching the paint drive and this guy's insisting on that much a week, we could say, well, thank you very much. And we'll get
So-
somebody to close it out.
I take it your recommendation is we act on this and approve it.
Yeah, yes.
Do I have a motion from someone to do that?
I so move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Gay? Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks, Don.
9.4, the board will consider an option to discontinue the discussion listserv and transfer the MCN announce listserv to a private party. I think this partially came out of, our reaction to public comment at our last meeting, and I think the MCN committee met. So Jason or Rob or Mark, do you want to tell us what the committee?
Sure, I'm happy to report, if that's okay. Yeah, so the MCN Advisory Committee met, discussed some options, and Rob and I were given direction. Out of that discussion, we would like to recommend that we discontinue the discussion listserv. It's just deteriorated so much over the years that I'm not hearing anybody clamoring to keep that around. So I think that is one area that I think is an easier decision. But as you'll see, I think the announced listserv is also a rather easy decision, in my opinion. Can I just go through my recommendation and kind of my thoughts here? Okay, so we received about 15 comments before the board meeting today. Somebody posted on the listserv that they could contact Aaron to contact the board, so I've forwarded all the comments to you. Out of the 15, 14 were saying, let's please keep the listserv. So we have a solution to do exactly that, keep the listserv, but have it no longer be operated so run or have any association with the school district. There's a solution to those positive comments, so we will get to that in a minute. But one of the comments that was not a positive comment really kind of hit home for me. It really is really a more meaningful comment to me rather than the please keep the listserv, because what this comment is saying there is no solution for. So I'd just like to, can I read a portion of this one? So it says, in the last few months, I've seen individuals on the MCN listserv make threats, slander, ridicule, taunt, and spew outright vitriol into the community. What may have once been beneficial is now harming the community. New members are horrified by their experience. Old members are jaded and complacent after years of navigating malice, contempt, and insanity on the list. There are many better options available now, so I strongly urge the discontinuation of this service. So those kinds of words, you know, threats, slander, taunting, harassment, is not what we want associated with our school district. So every time somebody sees this discussion come up and sees Mendocino Unified School District in the same sentence as what some of these people in the community are doing to each other and saying to each other, that's negative press for us. And that's negative press for MCN as well. You know, I don't know if any of you have ever posted anything, but I have, and I just think, I mean, I've posted for the school district, and I think, oh, great. Who's going to come back with some snide comment about some, you know, the desire to have a citizens oversight committee member? That's what I posted about, but I was like, I was hesitant because of the ugliness on this listserv. And so we were given the direction to talk to an individual who has shown an interest in paying for the listserv as a paid service. So there are these lists that exist through MCN that a customer could pay for. I could pay $11 a month and start my own list as a paid customer. So we have someone who is offering to do that as a paid customer. And so if people want to sign up for the announce listserv, he said that he would likely keep the same name. That's up to him though. We could post an announcement on the announce listserv that says if you'd like to sign up for this other list, this is the process to do that. And so in essence, the announce listserv would continue to operate just as it is now, but it is not going to be under the school district's purview. So I think it's a win-win. And so that's the advisory's recommendation. So Rob, did I get all that right? The terminology there?
For the most part, yeah. 1150 per month.
Oh, 1150, sorry.
Yeah, and then there's many other lists besides just the announce and discussion list that, you know, are offered. So to be clear that it's more than one thing.
Right, so there's like a.
I'll get you later, David. I'll get you.
So, I don't, yeah, so I've
Rob,
just.
what do you mean by that? I know there are private lists. Would those change and go into different hands as well? Is that what you're saying?
No, they wouldn't.
Okay.
So in other words, I guess the main thing is that the list service has many different lists on it. So they are the announced list and the other one. But then there's also the list box has many different services on it. There's the announced list and the discussion list, but then there's also, you know, Jane's dance list, or I'm making this up.
Right.
So those, you know, are paid for by other people.
Right.
That
The two public ones are the announce and the discussion.
correct. That's all that, as I understand, are public announced lists right now, or public lists.
they're-
MCN-run lists.
I still don't understand. So that fee of $11.50 goes to MCN, and MCN manages those lists?
So let's define manage.
Okay.
Managing the list, sorry to be picky, but
Yeah, no,
managing
please.
the list is like saying, hey, you know, you posted something, are you allowed to post this, that kind of thing.
Sorry, no, okay, just host it, maybe, is that more
Correct, that's a much better way of saying it. Yeah, so for $11.50 a month, MCN will host the listserv for you. And then you, as the owner, are responsible for the content
I
on
don't
that
know, so
list.
the proposal is to let a private person host the,
Their own list. I mean, they can call it whatever
well,
they
anyone
want.
still, that could already happen.
Right.
It already does happen.
But
Right.
that's.
So what
the-
are we doing? I don't understand.
But that's
So we're
the-
going
He
to
wasn't
encourage,
paying for
So we would
what he was doing.
encourage those that are currently on the announced listserv, if you want to continue to, because this individual would like to continue offering this service.
okay, you've lost me. I don't, it seems like, we're privatizing it, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Effectively,
exactly
yeah,
right.
but we're also.
That's exactly right.
Sorry.
Well, we're also taking the onus away from, you know, the district being responsible for the content on that
Right,
list.
I understood.
And a lot of people, you know, really enjoy the announced list, as,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Jason's found out, and I'm sure you guys know. So this was a unique way to sort of keep it within the community.
Okay.
And it
Because
sounds
we are
like
not
they're-
going to moderate it, and we are not going to limit speech on it.
Right.
And it's turned extremely ugly, and it happens all the time, and I'm sick of having our school district be associated with that behavior.
Okay, are we commenting amongst the board?
That's my
We can.
recommendation.
Okay, may I?
Sure.
Did Emily have a question?
I did have a question. It sounds like there are, within this choice to maybe have a private individual take over the announce listserv, there might be two sub-choices within that. One is that you could use the current announce listserv, and therefore no name change, nobody has to resubscribe to anything. It just seamlessly moves over to somebody else running it. Or we sort of tell everybody, go sign up for new listserv called Mendo Announce, or whatever it's going to be called, and that is going to be hosted by this private individual who also pays a monthly fee, but people would actually have to resubscribe to a new listserv. Am I correct on those two options?
You were correct in those two items, yeah. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's a decision that, you know, you guys are going to make.
So, but if I'm hearing you correctly, and what you just clarified, and the first option was to continue it, then we're still associated because it is announced at MCN, correct? Or isn't that the listserv?
Yeah, announce at lists.mcn.org.
So no matter if someone else takes over hosting it,
We would always
it's
be
still
at
the
MCN,
same.
no matter what. If
Okay, so
I
how is
started a
the-
list that said,
How is the greater reputation any different? If nothing's
because it
changed.
keeps coming up and people keep posting that Mendocino Unified School District is allowing this to happen.
Right.
Mendocino Unified School
Right.
District is choosing
Right.
not to stop people threatening my
Right.
life. Mendocino Unified School District is encouraging people to hate and harass people.
Right.
That's what's happening. And so,
Yeah.
and
we
I can say, well,
I think
actually,
the difference is
no.
that there are currently only two publicly run listservs, and it's the announce and discussion listservs that
Right.
MCN hosts
Right.
and runs.
Right.
A lot of people have their own private listserv that use MCN for that back-end
Right.
listserv process,
I
but it's
got
not
you.
really
MCN,
associated with
yeah.
MCN and with the MUSD as a result.
MCN is also used for many things that we would disagree with and find abhorrent, but it's private. It's an internet service provider, and all kinds of data and pictures and stuff goes through it that we can't see, they can't see most of the time, I think. It's private. That's different to me than having something that we're hosting, being a school district that is so opposed to harassment. It's on the front page of our website, and that's required by federal law, that you have Title IX on the front page of your website. To me, it's like we have two playgrounds, and the upper playground, no bullying is allowed, and the teachers and the principals are managing it and making sure kids are safe. If somebody bullies somebody, there are consequences. And then you've got the lower playground, where most people say, where it's okay to bully, I mean, it's allowed, not okay, it's allowed. And most people say, I just ignore those kids. And some kids say, it's really, hurting me. And their parents get mad at the school district and say, why are you allowing this bullying here when you're not allowing it? That's not okay, you're a school district. That's exactly what's happening, except it's not physical. That's what, a 10-year-old can join those listservs. You don't ask for a driver's license, do you?
Correct, we do not.
So, kids in our district could be on there. And yet, I know that our staff works hard to have kids not bullied. So,
I don't quite go along with the entire analogy.
it's
Because
strange
it's so-
because it's virtual, I understand.
Exactly, and comments kept coming in even after we started our meeting. But as you stated, there's overwhelming support for this listserv amongst our community. Just like there was overwhelming support for MCN staying in our ownership when that was up for discussion in the very recent past. I don't buy the worry. And what struck me when I read the same letter you read to us, and this gentleman that spoke last time, as far as I know, those are the two negative comments were the only people that mentioned litigation. Everyone else just talked about how great it was and how easy it is to block negative people. It's not that hard. I occasionally use it. I was on it for a while. I blocked it for some reason. Occasional ones filter through. I enjoy it. The blather even occasionally I enjoy. It's free speech.
But if I could interrupt you.
Sure.
Yes, it is free speech, but that's why it's dangerous. You can still enjoy it.
Yeah, but
What
privatizing it?
What would stop you from enjoying it if it was just through a different avenue and not
How do we
associated
know
with
that
school
person
district?
doesn't start
deciding they actually want to moderate it to their own tastes.
They have that right to, but then you just don't do the list. I hear you in spirit,
I'm
but
in
up
strong,
until-
I'll listen to all of you. I'm in strong support of continuing with the MCN listserv
But
on
up
MCN.
until this came out, like have you been a part of the listserv for the last, 10 years?
Like I
Because
said, little bits and
because
dreads
it
come
comes
through.
and goes. Like, it'll come and then
Yeah.
it'll go away a while, but then it'll come back and it'll go away. And it's not two people. It's a lot of people who are really ugly on this listserv. And
Is it
One-
really a
one-
lot?
so,
One suggestion that Chuck Wilshire made, I found interesting, which would be to restrict the announce listserv to people who had MCN email
There you
addresses.
go. I could support that.
And that would it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be a local person, but it improves the likelihood that you're going to be a local person.
And generates some undue for us.
and maybe you can't hide who you are. How about that? I mean, can you come up with a fictitious name? Because people, when they think they're anonymous, they say really ugly things. And so,
I think that, I don't know,
is there a way to do that? If we all have to show our face, it's different.
I don't know that it's, again, I don't want to put a burden on staff, that they have to suddenly police email accounts when they've not been doing that. I'm just saying that I was intrigued by the idea because it, some of the, most prolific posters are not MCN
Right.
addresses.
That's true.
But I don't know, is it technically easy to restrict a listserv to one domain?
Sure.
But then
No, I
it
have no
defeats the
idea. That's
purpose of
honestly
being a
something.
public
Yeah,
service
that's
at
something
that
I'd really
point.
have to look into. That could prove to be a challenge, but any challenge can be overcome. Just how much effort do you want to put into it?
But more than half the people who wrote in saying, with their support for the listserv, did not use MCN.org email addresses. I mean,
No, I agree.
tons
And
of people
but I think
do, so it
that,
would defeat the purpose of
I
providing
think a
the
lot of
service.
people, would consider the idea of supporting, a less virulent listserv by, paying for an MCN email address. I don't know. I just thought, I tend to be, in WinSpirit's camp about free speech. It's ugly. Free speech is ugly. People get hurt. But, we're adults, and that's what we believe in, free speech.
I don't.
We don't believe in free speech.
I
Do we
believe
wanna
in
be
free speech, but
associated
that
with
doesn't
that as a
mean,
school?
that doesn't mean I think Facebook should allow anybody to say anything. They're a private company. And it doesn't mean I think a school district should allow anybody to say anything, because we pay a superintendent to manage the education of children. And I don't want 1 minute of his time spent on somebody who's very virulently racist or sexist or spouting things that any kid can see, subscribe to, get involved in a conversation with. I don't think school districts should support that. The money of the public is not going to us to manage those situations, to talk about what we're talking about right now. For people to end up in Jason's office. And MCN doesn't make enough money to hire somebody to do those kinds of things either. So I think it's outside the purview of a school district, and it's improper use of public funds.
Bella, you were about to make a comment.
I just don't really get why we can't just, I know this is gonna sound like ignorant or whatever, but I don't understand why we can't just block those users that are just being inappropriate on the website. Like, me personally, I don't wanna be a student seeing, I guess, I don't want to be represented as that kind of person that goes to a school that might be seen as racist because someone's posting like ignorant things on a website that's connected to our school district. I don't want to be seen as that person. So I don't understand why we can't just necessarily make the solution simpler and blocking them. Like,
You mean the management blocking them? Because individual users can block them.
right, but like, I guess MCN. I mean,
It's really about labor, manpower.
can't it just be like a once a week thing though? Shouldn't it take like, I feel like,
I guess the only thing to say is like, why should I block somebody because they believe blue is a better color than green?
right,
What gives me the right to decide whose should be blocked or not? I think that's where it gets a little messy. I agree with you fundamentally.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Rob. The more you think about it, I agree. And if we were Facebook, we would have the resources to do it, right?
Exactly.
Facebook does it, Twitter does it. They have the resources to do it. Well, Twitter doesn't do it anymore. But, right, they have an entire department whose job it is to determine whether people are complying with their terms and conditions of service or not. We are not going to create a department to do that. We are not going to ask Rob to do that. We're not going to ask Jason to do that. We're not going to do that as a board. It's not our job. And I agree with Mark that we don't, and Bella, that we don't want any of this vitriol associated with the school district. I also think we are a public school district, and I'm not so sure while Facebook can block people's opinions they don't like, I'm not sure we can, because we are the state. So that's not legal advice. This is not my area of expertise. I'm not so sure that we can do that, frankly, as a public school district. But I don't think we can just let it go on under our name. So I think we need to find a solution that allows it to. I also think that it's a public service and it's useful and a lot of people really value it, and we should allow it to continue in some fashion. I think the question is how we go about doing that. Do we let a private individual essentially purchase the listserv as it currently stands and pay us monthly for it? Seems like a decent solution. But I worry a little bit that we are then sort of giving the keys to the castle to some private individual. And how do we choose who to give it to? The first person who came knocking on the door? I don't know. Or do we let people figure out where they're all going to go and resubscribe to some other named list that's private, that's not quite as effective as keeping the public service of the listserv together? I think those are the two things we need to decide. To me, do nothing isn't a choice and moderation is not a choice. So we need to choose between how we push the announced listserv somewhere else. That's my opinion.
I respectfully disagree, and I would again bring it back to the public comments that we've had. We don't oftentimes, a lot of subjects get very little attention. Occasionally subjects come up that get attention. This one got people's attention. Vast majority of the people that have written to us have said, leave it alone. It works. It's simple to block the negative people, and we really like this. We're a representative democracy. I think that's what we ought to do. I'm open to continuing to discuss it. I'm open to listening to other ideas. I just feel quite strongly that that's the thing to do.
Public comment. Do you want to pass the microphone over to David?
I'm David Gurney. Thanks. First of all, I wanted to clarify who the person was that offered. Was that Joseph Huckabee? Is that correct?
I don't know.
Offered what?
Offered to take over the announced list.
What?
I don't know, yeah.
Or you said that you had some individual that was.
Yeah, I think if you know the person's name, you should say it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I know Joseph very. I know him quite well from years and years back. He's, if anybody is worthy of doing that, he is. So. I'm not saying I recommend that, but anyway. I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to put this on your agenda and at least trying to deal with the problem. And I want to report that since bringing this up to the board 1 month ago, the person in question has ceased his online harassment, actually as of about 2 weeks ago. I do not want either the discussion list or the announced list discontinued. Unfortunately, the discussion list has long been rendered essentially useless because of the online bullying. There really is no discussion list left. It's mainly just insults and threats. Unfortunately, I mean, it's really sad that it devolved into that, but that's the reality of it. I should also mention here the numbers. According to Rob Bush here, on May 23rd, there were 522 members of the discussion list, and there were assume it's close to this now, 2,388 on the announced list. I also need to mention that I've received a lot of flack from people for even suggesting that something needs to be done to stop the online bullying. I think that you haven't really looked at all the solutions, and I agree with Bella that it's pretty simple. You just institute some very basic moderation on the listservs, and that would include no threats, no deliberate hate speech, no using the list for any illegal activity, no doxing of personal information, and also I think it would be good to limit or get rid of people using false identities, or if they have a fake name, at least know who that person is. It's a community listserv after all, and it does represent the school district, so I think people need to take personal responsibility for what they say. Someone, it was Chuck Wilcher actually, suggested that subscribers could pay $1 a month fee for use of the listservs. And that fee, I don't know what that would tally out to, but maybe $1,000 a month could pay the school district to hire someone or pay someone already employed to take it upon themselves to moderate the listservs and block people that continuously break those basic rules. That's really about all I have. I just hope we can find some sort of solution and not lose what, I think is an exemplary example of free speech. I'm all for free speech, but not for making threats, threatening that you've filed lawsuits against people, which is false, making death threats, severe libel of somebody's career and personal life, doxing personal information. I've experienced all of that on those lists, and people get upset because they're insulted a little bit, but being insulted is a little different than receiving threats, let me tell you. So anyway, I really do appreciate.
If there are people online who want to speak.
Okay, I'm done, but thank you for the opportunity.
Aaron, are there people online who wish to speak?
Anne Marie.
Start with Anne Marie, sure.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can, Anne Marie.
Hi. Thank you for keeping the MCN, and I've been involved twice to make sure that MCN is still part of MUSD. This is a slightly different issue. I support what Windspirit said. I support what Chuck Wilcher said, which I didn't read, but just a little I heard, and also Michael Schaefer. I feel that the community needs that as a community service. You probably also heard from Marco McLean. I'm not going to repeat what he already sent to you, but he needs that for his own radio station, and so does Bruce Anderson from the Anderson Valley Advertiser. There's many people here who want to have a feel for the community, and to me, it's important. And once in a while, I make an announcement, and I luckily was never harassed or anything, but it's important. And to pay $11.50 a month for that service, it's going to fall apart, because who does have $11.50 a month? I pay the monthly fee to have an MCN account. I want to support the district. I want to support MCN. And, the local newspapers, they really don't report what people want to put in there. We have a choice of one letter to the editor per week. That is not enough. And so often when things get submitted, they don't print it. So we can't rely on the Mendocino Beacon or the Advocate News. And there are so many issues that we're all dealing with as a community legal issues, environmental issues. It's really important to have that service. And I have the digest version because I couldn't handle having an email come in every second. So I would be in favor of not having the discussion list. I stopped that long time ago because it became a full-time job to keep track of the announce and the discussion list. And when you have the digest version, it's hard to block people. But I just, skim it and go, read the things that I know that I feel okay about the people. I know people should feel safe and not feel attacked or harassed. Um, but I really encourage you, if you don't quite know where exactly you're going, to maybe think about it before you take an action tonight and hear from more people. You did hear from 14 people who said, leave it as is. I'd be willing to pay $1 a month, but not $11.50. I know Joseph Huckabee. I think he would be probably fine. But as soon as you monitor, it's like, how will you monitor? When will you say what's okay and not okay? And we need this service. I feel it's very important. There was one community member who wrote to me, maybe not to the list, who said that this list is archaic. I don't know. I don't know enough about technology and how it could be different, but I feel we are protected by no one reading it. It's like we can feel safe to write what we want, and it should be up, of course, to the individual people to be within a framework where no hate and threats and illegal issues or doxing people would be part of this. And maybe it is a way to say, well, if people have an MCN account, then they could be part of this. I mean, it doesn't cost very much currently to have an MCN account. And so that's maybe one way, but please leave it. We need free speech. It's curtailed so much in other avenues. And I think I wouldn't want to go with any other service. Thank you for having done it up until now, and I hope you will keep at least the announce list in some way, and so that the community has a way to connect. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. I'd like to clarify some of the dollar amounts that have been floating around. The $11.50 is what MCN charges anybody who wants to create a listserv. Right, and they become the managers of that listserv. I mean, I don't know how many we have, but we have over a dozen probably listservs.
It's not the users.
The users don't pay.
Right.
There was a suggestion by one person who posted today that if we wanted to raise income, you could charge $1 fee, and that would $1 a month, and that would discourage a lot of people from participating at $12 a year. People said, well, it's nice to get that information, but it's not that nice. But that's, again, someone's proposal. It's not what we're talking about tonight. So I wanted to clarify that, and I'll talk for myself, which is that, the idea of turning this service and making it a private enterprise is bothersome to me, and I can't really talk about exactly why. It's more a gut feeling that I have that, there's opportunity for bad things happening that are different bad things than are happening now. So I just don't see that as a panacea, turning the responsibility over to somebody else. You know, I think that if we really, I shouldn't say that, put it that way, because I know you really believe that fervently. And I have no.
Believe
just-
what fervently?
Your passion about the school district shouldn't be involved in anything that has this hate in it or this bile in it.
I'd like to clarify the words free speech. We use them loosely, and free speech, as the common saying is, you can't yell fire in a movie theater. I can't put online that you're an embezzler. You can sue me. I mean, I don't have that free speech. It's illegal. It's often hard to run those lawsuits and make those kinds of things work, and there's all kinds of tricky things about what goes in a newspaper. But Fox News just found out there is a limit, and it cost them close to $1 billion. And I really feel, I use Facebook. I've used Facebook since, I don't know, 2009. I'm not sure when I started using it. I've gotten all kinds of positive things out of my use of Facebook. But Facebook also is causing an incredible amount of mental illness in the children in this country right now. And they're not stopping it. I also know that they do cut people off, but it's become pretty clear that social media is really damaging children. There's a lot of data, a lot of good articles. I'll send them to you if you want to see them. I still use it. I began, first of all, Mendocino Community Network is a name that I came up with. Me and Rennie and Mitch Sprague were standing around trying to decide what to call this almost 30 years ago. And I said, how about Mendocino Community Network? And the important word is the one in the middle. And I still believe that. And I believe the school district has given an incredible benefit to this community. As many speakers have said, you know, in the past when we almost closed it or got rid of it, and, you know, recently with this subject. And it can be a force for good. But I think as a school district, we have a responsibility to stick by our values, and they have to be consistent. And they're not with that announced list and the discussion one. They're not consistent. And it is like having two playgrounds and having one where, yes, children, although I don't think that many children use listservs, but.
I don't think any children use listservs.
No, I don't. But, but the fact is that we have two sets of values there. And I really think that if it got virulent in another way, if it got really racist, for example, I think you guys would change your mind at a certain point. If it started having a bunch of stuff about shooting black people, I think you'd change your mind. And that's not far from what some of that is. And if you wouldn't change your mind, then shame on you. That's not free speech. It's not.
Don't shame me, Mark.
No, I mean, I think what free speech is that you are
I feel
able to say
So do I,
that.
but don't tell me shame on me for suggesting what I would or wouldn't do. I don't think that's respectful discourse.
I'm not trying to muzzle
Okay,
you.
I
what you're saying.
apologize for that.
What about Mark's free speech?
Yeah.
Bella, did you have your hand raised to speak?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Sorry.
I guess I feel like this, it just kind of feels like a mountain out of a molehill to me. It's so easy to block somebody, as everyone has said, and then you never hear from them again. And how many people are really generating this obnoxious behavior? I don't know, because I'm not using it enough, but I don't think it's that many. Because again, I just counted up, it's 20-something people have written in and saying, we love this. This is a community service and we love it. And 1-2 people have communicated with us and said, this is a problem and legal action might ensue if something doesn't change. You talked about statistics earlier about the scholarships. Statistically, it's supported and loved by our community. There's many other things that could go wrong potentially, could insult people potentially.
For me,
it's not.
For me, it's not about free speech. It's not about who loves it.
Right.
I'm here for one thing only,
for this school district.
Right.
And to have that associated with our school district is not good press. So I don't, it's
To have
not about
what
that.
associated? A couple
To-
people that are unhappy with it?
No, to have people say, every few years, somebody says, the school district is allowing this to happen. So all of these people are seeing that the school district is allowing it to happen.
And then
All I'm
people
doing
have to
is-
use their
is that-
critical thinking and
And how
decide
many
whether
people
that
out there
matters.
use their critical thinking? Not many.
No.
From what I gather on this listserv, not many. So, hey, listen, all I'm saying is that, is it worth it? To me, no. If you guys want to keep it, fine. I'm just saying,
I mean, we've had the same thing, it's come up on Facebook, the
it's
rants have
ridiculous.
come up, railing on the school and this. How many people pay attention to that? The people that are involved in it, the rest of them
But I
don't.
think it gets people riled up, it gets people going, and on Facebook it has, so I can tell you exactly.
Getting people
cases
riled up
where it
isn't a
has.
bad thing either.
Yes, it is, it can be.
It can be,
It
yes,
can be,
but
and I've
also getting
experienced
people,
it that
but
way.
also getting people activated and thinking and talking is a good thing.
But what I'm saying is not a good thing. And so I would like you to stop and think about that. Like, what I am saying, for people to have a bad, to associate that kind of behavior and talk and negativity and just ugliness with the school district is a bad thing. That is a bad thing. I'm not going to budge on that. It is a bad thing. But you're right, 2,000 people are using it appropriately. But, yeah, so I'm just saying is that I just think it's not worth it. I don't care about anything else except for the welfare of this school district. I don't care about somebody trying to sell a sewing machine or somebody threatening to kill someone. But I hate to have I would hate to have something actually happen. But
I
I guess
haven't
we
yet
can't live
heard
like that.
anyone
We can't live like that.
have a strong opinion against the idea of turning over the listserv to someone else. It will run exactly how it's running right now. I mean, it's the same listserv, everyone's on it. A private person will pay us monthly to be the person who hosts and runs it. I haven't heard anyone say that's a terrible, terrible idea.
I don't think it's a good idea.
It's already been happening
It's
for
the
a
same-
long time.
What do you mean?
Listserv.
Ours?
Yes.
Oh, but
Ours.
other lists.
No. It exists. You can go on the internet and find a functional version of our announced list, one where you're not getting 1,000 emails a week.
Right, but
It's
not
bi-
this.
it's- Yes.
Yeah, it's great. It's like a,
No,
it's
no,
a
but I understand
social
what
media
you're saying. Other
website
people are
version of
doing
it.
that. We're talking about MCN's listserv.
Yes.
It is MCN's listserv on a
Yes.
web page. It's
I
great
can
with a
pull it up
much
on there
better
right now.
user interface.
I'm not clear what you're saying.
I don't think it's, you know,
Here's let me explain it.
what I'm saying is, there are alternatives to the MCN announced listserv.
Right.
But they are not as universally used.
No, that's not what I'm saying. The exact same listserv already exists on the internet, run by Joseph Huckabee, and that has been true for how long?
I don't know how long that's.
It's not exactly the same.
Yeah, what you should say is that he's taken those messages.
Yes.
And put them into a slightly different format. He's taken those messages as a member of the list. He gets all the messages, has put them into a slightly different format.
Right.
So that it is filterable.
It is
So
filterable,
he's
and he has
taking
taken at least
Yeah.
one person who's problematic and put him in his own separate part. And if you want to look at that part, you can, but it's not coming at you.
But there's a distinction to be made there that it's still the content of the MCN list.
Yes.
It's that a member has taken that content and decided to display it in a different manner.
And how many
Yes.
And people
subscribers
subscribe to their,
How many
to that.
how many subscribers does he have?
I don't know, you'd have to ask him.
No, but it's
But
not
a fair
2,000.
amount, as I understand.
It's not 2,000.
No, it's not. It's not 2,000.
Well, isn't it the same number of subscribers in that you don't have to pay to use it? I don't pay when I use it.
No, but you have to say, out of the blue, I want to subscribe to Joseph Huckabee's listserv.
Oh,
It's
you
not a
would if we
listserv.
did it that way.
Or if
No.
if it already exists.
You just have to go to the
I
website.
mean, you know, you can get the filtered version of the announced listserv.
The
is what-
reorganized version,
Right?
yeah.
But people aren't choosing to do that.
Some are. I don't
Yes,
know how many.
but I mean, not the majority. That's why it's attractive to him
But
to
that's
want to
separate from what
purchase.
we're talking about, which is actually just giving him the listserv as it currently exists. So everybody who's already on it would still be on it, still receive the emails. It's just the person in the back is not Rob, it's Joseph Huckabee. That's what we're talking about doing.
And so how would that?
And he
what would
pays
that
us
change?
$11.50
And
a
so
month
what
to do it.
exactly would change in terms of like what you're saying, Jason? How would that change the
Because
feelings that you have?
they won't
What will it say?
people won't say that we are allowing it to happen, that we are encouraging it, that we
But
are.
it's still gonna be hosted on MCN.
Because you
As
can't
are
go to
billions of other
MendocinoCommunityNetwork.org and say, I want to join a public listserv called Announce.
Where will you have to go? To Joseph Huckabee's
Website.
You'd have to subscribe.
Well,
You
that
can already
depends
do
on
that
Joseph
right this
Huckabee.
minute.
Sorry to interrupt here. That depends on Joseph Huckabee. If he decides to change it that way, he would. I think to Emily's point more is that people can't come and say to MCN and to the district, hey, I'm going to create a lawsuit here because there's things going on that I'm not comfortable with. Takes the onus off the district if someone else is running it. Now, just to be clear about that. I mean, and I think that's the topic at hand here today, right? Either we keep the announced list as is, and it remains a spot of free speech, whether that's hate or peace and love, doesn't matter. It's hands off right now, and that's been the policy. Is that working? I don't know. That's kind of up to you guys to decide. You tell me what you want to do, but that's how it is right now. And, you know, the only moderation that happens, to be clear, is if somebody tries to put a picture on there, it just gets discarded pretty much, or rejected. Or if they try and post to, if they try and CC more than like 5 email addresses, it'll just get discarded or rejected. And that's, yeah. So hopefully that clears some things up.
Was that a lot of staff time to create those filters?
Not really. It's you set them and then.
Because it's a volume parameter. Or-
Yeah, it's a volume parameter, it's it's software that takes, there's some settings in there, basically. But there aren't settings for, hey, we don't like the word,
Right.
flower.
I follow you.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people who aren't informed about what currently exists. I think a lot of people who wrote in probably don't understand that there is already another way to look at the same information. And it's not been my impression that he does much censoring, if any. Yes, he took one person and put them in their own little line, but it's right there. His name is on the front page, that, problematic person. I think people don't understand, and I think people don't understand what a school district is and what a school district's job is. And a school district's job is not to deal with this stuff.
Well, I mean, I
It
think,
takes time, and it's not okay. It's my tax dollars going to pay for Jason to meet with people who are upset about something that's written on the internet.
But we
And
could-
my
we
tax
made the-
dollars
we made-
legally are not allowed to be used for that.
when we made our choice to sponsor a business, we got ourselves into that can of worms.
Yes.
You know, the decision to become an ISP, an internet service provider, put us into that category of
Yes.
people.
It
So
still does.
rather than contributing the name MCN, you should have just discouraged its creation.
I think the differentiation is different. There are, hundreds, thousands, millions of gigabytes of information going through MCN that as a school district, we would object to morally or all kinds of things. And there's no way to have an internet that, that would not be free speech if we were there's no way that could be managed. But it's really different when it's a public thing that's tied to our name and to what we do, which is educate children and teach them to listen to people with different viewpoints respectfully. That's what we do. That's what we
But I
try
don't
to
think
do.
when I read the announced list, I'm thinking this is what MUSD is about,
Exactly.
But every once in a while it comes up.
I mean, it's I don't know, I just don't draw that connection the same way you're drawing it.
I've been a member of the listserv for 4 hours now,
4 hours?
Yes, because I was getting tired of getting emails from Jason forwarding things, so I decided to just go on and see it myself. And I joined the mendo.org website where you can see it in a much nicer user interface, which is not a listserv, it's a website where you can just log in and check it out. And I have seen offensive things just talking about our school board discussion tonight. I have seen people speaking to each other really uncivilly, stuff I would not want my son to read and associate it with our school district. But it is associated with our school district, because it's a public listserv that we are announcing on our MCN website. And our MCN website says it's owned and operated by the Mendocino Unified School District. We can't moderate it. I don't think we can. We don't have the resources to, and I'm not sure we can legally. And I don't want to let it go on. And I don't see any major issue with letting someone else run it instead of us, seamlessly turning over the listserv to someone else to run. I haven't heard a single person say why that would be a bad idea. Why? Why would that be a bad idea? It would be the exact same listserv, continuing on. No one would have to unsubscribe, resubscribe, do anything different. It would continue on.
I think that's an assumption, not, I mean, I don't know that, we're certainly not going to
We could
extract
put a
guarantee
60-day
that there won't
notice
be
on the,
changes.
we could put a 60-day notice on the announced listserv. This will disappear in 60 days. Or this will be run by Joseph Huckabee in 60 days. If you don't want to be a part of that announced listserv in 60 days, you should unsubscribe. If you would like to create your own listserv within the next 60 days, go ahead and do that and invite everybody on this listserv to join your listserv, right? Go ahead and do that. We give everybody every opportunity to make their own decision about what listserv they want to be on. If they want to be on the one that Joseph Huckabee will run in 60 days, or they want to be on the one that David Gurney decides to post to the group within the next 60 days and create his own, great, you can go sign up for that one. You can buy that listserv from us. I don't see any issues there.
Tobin and then David.
I think the case in point is how long this board has spent on this topic tonight. The other thing is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they all moderate. Users get blocked, sometimes temporarily, sometimes permanently, sometimes for a year or so, right? So if MCN and the board is not willing to moderate something, I think that would be behaving irresponsibly, and therefore you need to find another solution. This is a free-for-all. That's not how social media operates. So don't go drawing parallels that you're just like every other social media platform. That's not what's going on here. I have never looked at any of these lists. I'm just listening to this conversation. And that is not an equal parallel. So you have to at least make an effort to be responsible.
I totally agree with what he just said. I think part of the attraction of the MCN announced list is the fact that it is under the umbrella of the school district, and it is a stanchion of freedom of speech, and that's to be revered. But it can't, just as he said, you can't just, that's not a good example to set for the kids either. It's just like turning a Frankenstein monster out loose on the community and crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. That just does, obviously over the years it has proved not to work. But I don't want to go on and on. The other point I wanted to make that I forgot to make when I talked the first time is that many, many people have suggested to me that all you have to do is block this person, blah, blah, blah. And then you won't hear from him. You won't see what he's posted. But that doesn't solve the problem when this person is reaching over 500 people in the community with serious, it's not slander, it's libel, serious libel and threats, statements that he's suing me and, all kinds of weird stuff. It goes out into the community whether I block it or not. So that puts the onus on me to have to monitor this guy to see what the hell's going on on my name out in the community. That's not fair to me. So, I'm doing MCN's job basically. Not that there's anything that I can do about it. So I'm just saying that blocking certain individuals who are flagrant abusers of other people is not a solution. That doesn't work. When there's 500 or over 2,000 people that are receiving this kind of stuff, sorry. That's it.
Is there anyone online who is raising their hand to speak?
I'd like to say one more thing, if I may.
Sure.
First of all, the main thing I want to say is, I appreciate the discussion that everyone's had with this. It has, for the most part, been thoughtful, and well-respected, and I think it's a good example to set for the community. So, thank you. No matter what you guys decide, that's the important part, is that we all kind of talked about it, and we're respectful of each other's thoughts and comments. Just going to leave it at that.
So Aaron, there's no one online who wishes to speak? Okay. I mean, I fear that if we make a motion, it'll tie. And I'm not sure that that's, represents progress.
I think discussion is progress, though, too.
Okay, but I'm just saying, do we just want to postpone a decision until we have 5 people and
I was
therefore
gonna
have a
suggest
3-2
that.
vote?
Yeah.
I have a question. Did you communicate with legal at all about any of this?
No.
I think that would be pertinent.
What's the question, though?
Are we in any legal risk by what we're doing?
No, that we've determined with the disclaimer at the bottom of every message.
We're not.
We're not.
Okay, okay.
But that doesn't address the moral issue that
Moral
Emily
is-
and Mark are
Understood.
particularly supporting tonight.
Right.
Would it make any difference to Michael or Winspirit whether legal told us or not whether we could moderate it, or does everybody agree that that's practically not appropriate in any event, whether it's legal or not?
I think that'd be interesting to know.
I mean,
I mean,
I'm
I
curious.
mean,
I
maybe
don't know the
thought-
answer, but
I would be interested
we're a
in
public
that.
institution technically, and while, Facebook
definitely
and
be
Twitter
interested in
can,
that.
I don't know that we can.
Because my thought when the idea of someone else taking it over, I don't like that idea. My thought was, well, maybe community members need to volunteer, and we have a board of volunteer moderators that sit down at MCN and moderate it.
Well, I think one of the things that people would like to see is the announced listserv be an announced listserv.
Don't use it for other things.
Yeah, don't use it for the back and forth that's been happening. If you have something to
Right.
announce, an event or something for sale, then that's different. People like that kind of stuff, And I feel like that kind of moderation might be
People
easier
jumped
to
on
do.
it because
You could
it's
say,
got more subscribers.
Sorry, this is not an announcement. I'm not blocking you from what you're saying, but that sounds like a discussion item. Discussing things is,
But if you're abolishing the discussion
no,
list.
right, but it sounds like we're not taking action to do that.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to raise,
And
is
so-
couldn't we all agree to at least abolish the discussion list?
Well, so there are 500 people on the discussion list, and there's 2,300 on the announced list. So, I mean, if we could moderate it just in that way, it would be, who would do it, who knows? But I would like to know the answer to the moderation question as well, if we can do that.
I think the various court decisions that I've paid attention to, I mean, there are a couple about, as a public official, school board member, if I have a Facebook page, and I talk about my job as a school board member and put up all sorts of things about what great work we're doing, and I get negative comments from somebody, whether they're a constituent or not, I can't block them. The Supreme Court has said you cannot block that person for any reason, whether they're vile, whether they're obnoxious back to you, whether they're taking your Facebook page and filling it with all sorts of ugly stuff. Because free speech as a public official means I have to listen to it all, whether I want to hear it or not.
But you could take your page down.
But you take your page down. You don't have to be in that forum. You don't have to exist there. We've had this discussion about moderating the lists for, at least 5 or 6 times in the last 20 years. And, I think in a way we've become more standoffish as our approach as time has gone because that seems to be the one that involves a lesser amount of time and energy. But I think this is the first time I can feel, from board members and the superintendent, this moral indignation that we're connected in any way to what happens there. And, that's powerful. I don't want to, I can't say you guys are wrong, because who am I to say that, right? I believe that we all are right, but that doesn't give me the clear answer as to what to do. The one part of me says, well, we can just eliminate the problem, eliminate both lists and be done with it. But we have had the overwhelming number of responses to the issue say, no, don't cut the lists, or at least don't cut the announced list. In spite of its problems, its imperfections, its misuse, keep it. And that's, something that I, in my heart of hearts, think is probably right. It's probably why I can't support, the recommendation. But, I don't want to be here every month for the next umpteen time having the same discussion. That's not going to get us anywhere. So, I don't know if it's just a matter of having a third person, and when Jim gets here, then we say, Jim, you're the pivotal person here. What do you think?
What is the objection to letting someone else run it? That then it's not run by us, and that's a problem? We should be running it?
No, I don't think two things. One is, I don't think that turning it over to a private individual still under MCN's domain means that we're not responsible for it in the same way we're responsible for this. I don't think we're responsible for what people say on there. If I did, I would feel differently. But I think that, again, the law is pretty clear that providing a service that people misuse is not your responsibility. And, I don't think it's, people crying fire in a crowded theater. I just don't. I don't think that's a good analogy for what happens on the listserv. I think there's lots of things I don't like, and I block those people, and I only hear about them when somebody else that I still listen to is referring to them. But I guess, the part of me that thinks that for all its disadvantages, free speech is better than having monitors who say what's okay to say.
Yeah, I just observed that it's really contrary to where the rest of the world and the country is on how to deal with these sorts of platforms, right? If you look at the January 6th insurrection and what happened to social media platforms that allowed insurrectionists to use their platforms, it wasn't okay.
We don't have the
So if it got to that level,
we
then
don't
it
have
would
the
be a
reader
problem.
base anywhere near any of those. And if we did, we could afford moderation. If we had the
Well-
funding and we could moderate, I'd be fine with that.
If it were legal for us to
If it were
moderate.
legal and if it was legal, exactly.
But, okay, well, I'm just saying it's not best practice in this area to let a platform go unmoderated and unsupervised and not have people
I
kicked
don't
off when they
agree. I
violate
think it's
terms of
fine.
service.
I think there's no problem. Right.
I just find that really disturbing, being a school district. You don't feel that way about kids on the playground, do you?
No, but I don't
Why?
agree
Why?
the analogy. This is I just went on the website. You really have to try to subscribe to this. The kids are not using this.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh, so what do you?
I'm saying, if some kid on the playground is bullying your kid,
Yeah, that's not okay.
that's not okay.
Right.
Well, they're people. They don't change at the age of 18 or 21 magically. Human beings, political discourse in this country is being severely damaged by social media. And
I do not disagree with that. I don't, is the listserv social media? I don't really consider the listserv social media.
yeah, it is.
It doesn't ding at you, it doesn't, there's not ads, it's text and nothing else. They don't even, pictures aren't even allowed, I guess, maybe, I don't know who defines social media, but I don't lump this with Facebook, all the other ones that I think are damaging to children hugely.
I actually find the discourse on Facebook much more appropriate than what I've looked at in the past 6 hours on the announced listserv, because it's moderated, because people are shut down.
Maybe
when
what
they
you're
say
reading,
things.
there's a Facebook, I mean, there's
Oh,
a
I'm
world
sure
of
that's the
Facebook
case,
out
and
there that
I
you-
choose what to look at, you're absolutely right, and it's funneled me into things I
So you
want to
could
look
block,
at.
so you could go down there and block the 3 or 4, whoever.
Yeah, but
how
then
many
I'd be
there are.
blocking the people who are talking about the school board issues that I need to read about.
What do you mean, you think the same people are horrible and?
I've found them very offensive, yes.
Well,
Very
But
disrespectful.
it's a choice, I don't know, like I don't know, we can agree to disagree, I don't see this, someone being bullied on the playground and someone posting something I don't want to read on a listserv, I don't see as the same.
They're both Mendocino Unified School District.
I understand, I get that.
I just believe that there are things that could be posted on that listserv that were about you or your child or your wife or your third cousin that you would find incredibly disturbing and you would want something done about it. It's happened in my family. It's happened in my family with the Anderson Valley Advertiser in the past. Lies, and there was no way of dealing with it. And to me, it's not free speech.
I hear you, I hear you.
It was incredibly emotionally damaging. And it's not okay. It wasn't true. It had no basis in any information. And that's happening to people all the time on social media, including in this listserv. And, you know, different people respond to bullying in different ways. And for some people, certain types of bullying, they just brush it off, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean that that's the criteria that we should use to set up how children are treated or how adults are treated. I believe that the purpose of this school district is to educate children to be productive community members, and it doesn't include all that ugliness. And right now, it's my feeling that social media, and I don't distinguish, and I say I use it, but it's really damaging children and it's damaging our country. And here, another thing I want to say is, you know, I've been really interested in AI the past few months. It's become a big deal. And I watched the congressional testimony about AI 3 or 4 weeks ago. Sam Altman from ChatGPT and a bunch of other experts were testifying before Congress, and it was strange. Because here was a government committee, half Democrats, half Republicans. They were all of a single mind. In this country right now, they were talking to each other, they were agreeing with each other, and what they were all saying is, we blew it with social media, we hope we don't blow it with AI. These are critical issues, and I heard Republicans and Democrats saying we blew it with social media, and this is social media. It's pretty clunky social media, but it still is. It's words, and words are powerful, and part of our job in this school district is to educate children about the power of language in a multitude of ways.
So I think I'd like to move on to another item. I will certainly entertain a motion if you want to make a motion, or we can agree to table it to a future meeting.
Does that need a motion?
No.
You can make a it doesn't
Yeah.
need one, but
I move that we table this, can we say till a meeting when 5 people are present? I don't know how to say it.
I think to a future meeting is fine.
Okay, I would move that we table this and take it up at a future meeting.
Second?
A second.
Aaron, do you want to call the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. Okay, so our next item is 9.5, public disclosure of collective bargaining unit agreements. Assembly Bill 1200 requires local education agencies to publicly disclose the provisions of all collective bargaining agreements before entering into a written agreement. And so we've made this disclosure. Do we have to describe it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's in the packet. It's been
Yeah.
posted.
It's been posted. Any discussion on the board? Is this an action item?
Yeah.
So I have a move, I need a motion to approve the public disclosure agreements.
That's a typo, and it doesn't say action.
Yeah.
Okay. Also move.
Second.
Any discussion? Aaron, would you please call the roll?
I just want to clarify, we're doing both of them at the same time?
Yes.
Yes.
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes.
And Aaron, did you see there's a typo there? CMs instead of CMUS. 952, the last word.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
9.6, adoption of the 23-24 local control and accountability plan. We discussed this at our June 1st meeting. Have you made changes to this?
Yeah, so the only changes in there are I took out the words that the data was not available yet, and then I put it in the goal analysis that was changed.
So all-
Oh, and there's a little report on the California Healthy Kids Survey on what data I could compare between this year and 2021. So those changes are in there.
The dollar amounts are the same.
Yeah.
We had a discussion at the end of that meeting about, what our proper unduplicated count was. And Tobin sent me the list of every district in the state, every school in the state. And we are at 65% this current year, which surprised me because it's much higher than we've been. And that's partly what the difference between that number and Meg's number, because Meg's number is based on a 3-year average. And so that's why it was less at 53%. But obviously the trend is ever increasing, and things like COVID and isolation and high housing costs are forcing more and more people into shared housing, which equates under our sort of rules as being homeless. And it also just means people are finding it harder and harder to make ends meet. And as a district, we have to be, responsive to that situation. And I think if you look at what's in the plan, it is something that's about taking this seriously and providing resources that we didn't provide 20 years ago. And hopefully those resources are also providing a better educational environment. But we have work to do in terms of chronic absenteeism. And it's not we're alone in this. I mean, every district in the state is dealing with this. But thank you, Jason, for putting it together. Any other discussion about the LCAP? And a motion to approve the LCAP, please?
I move that we adopt the 2023-24 local control and accountability plan.
A second.
Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. 9.7, approval of the 2023 local performance indicators self-reflection. So do you want to run us through this?
Sure. So these are local indicators that we have to provide to the state that involve the implementation of the state standards, parent and family engagement, school climate, access to a broad course of study. That's it.
These show up on the dashboard.
Yeah, so these show up in the dashboard. Really, it's just if the board approves them and we submit them, that means that we've met the standard. So there's self-evaluation rubrics that we have to do, district evaluation about how we are implementing the Common Core standards for all subject areas. I don't know if you have any questions about it. There's a narrative for the parent involvement and family engagement, more rubrics that we have to fill out. And then at the very end of the document, we talk about our broad course of study and our success in our CTE programs. And the fact that our programs are open to all students. We don't limit who can participate in various programs. It's just the only barriers are small schools, small schedule.
So we're mostly in category 4 in terms
Right.
of our self-assessment. Would
Yeah,
you
yeah.
define what category 4 is?
Category 4 is full implementation of many of these things. The next category is full implementation and sustainability. So we've gone up. I feel like we've gone up to 5 in various areas, like our CTE programs, our health education standards, and our EL programs. Those used to be in the 3s when we started the LCAP, but I think we've done a fantastic job of implementing those standards and those services for those kids.
So what?
And our science standards.
What will take us to the 5s in the other categories?
Our science and social science implementation for Common Core. Visual and performing arts. For our art programs, our CTE art programs are probably there, but otherwise we have a little work to do there. Otherwise, I'd say, this can build on the LCAP discussion we had 2 weeks ago about building partnerships. So rating, our progress in providing, support to teachers to improve partnering with families, our progress in providing families with information and resources to support student learning and development in the home. Just really involving parents in the decision-making and the day-to-day at the school, but also in the district. So our progress and capacity of supporting family members to effectively engage in advisory groups and decision-making, that's still a 3.
The link on the website stops at page 11. I just noticed. Is that a mistake?
Nope. Oh, the last 2 are for county offices, the last few pages.
Okay.
Doesn't refer to this.
Okay.
Any questions? Would someone make a motion to approve the 2023 local performance indicators?
Also move.
Second.
Would you please call the roll, Aaron?
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. Did Rob step out?
He had another engagement.
Oh, okay. The next item is the adoption of the 23-24 MCN budget. He presented it on the 1st. I don't think there were any changes to it. So does someone make a motion to approve the MCN budget?
I so move.
I'll second.
Any questions or?
Is that publicly available?
Yes, it's on the website,
No, the district website.
district website. Would you please call the roll, Aaron?
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ong?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. 9.9, adoption of the 23-24 district budget. Meg, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
I think you made a couple minor improvements to the budget presentation.
Yes, it was the items on page 6 of the summary that I had gone over in the multi-year projection. So I added the half an FTE of the UTK teacher in 24-25, and then I added the budget line in the reserves to adhere to the TA that states that we'll add a line item of 2% annually in anticipation of negotiations, and then it will be set during the final negotiations. And then I updated the transfers in from Fund 17. So more money is being transferred in from Fund 17 to Fund 01. So our Fund 17 is for us to meet our reserve for economic uncertainty in all years. So our balance in Fund 17 is reduced. I think it was about 400,000 at the public hearing, and it's now down to 179,000 at the end of 25-26.
Right. Are there any questions of Meg? We had quite a long discussion about the budget last time, and I just want to reiterate, one, thank you for all your hard work in making this document as comprehensive and intelligible as it can be. But I also want to point out, as I did last time, the drop in FTE in both certificated and classified staff that is part of this budget.
Right. The budget, the multi-year projection institutes cuts that are necessary to keep us fiscally solvent, and unfortunately, those cuts are going to hit staff. So FTE is going to reduce as we go through time and make our budget cuts.
Right. Have you heard anything optimistic from Sacramento?
I don't think anything that's going to help us.
Yeah, that was my feeling.
No, I think we have the same voices.
Any other questions for Meg? Does someone want to make a motion on the adoption of the budget?
I move we adopt the 23-24 MUSD budget.
Second.
Could you please call the roll, Aaron?
Yes.
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 Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. I said it, let's see. I guess it was between 10 and 11. We'll go to 10 first. 9.10, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee Annual Report.
So we had only one meeting this year on May 15th, and we met first in the district office, and then the committee got a tour of the high school. And their report looks very similar to what it did last year, in that they have confirmed that no proceeds were spent on teacher salaries, administrator salaries, or operational expenses. All of the bond funds allocated were spent on the project. And we have five members on the committee, and 4 were present.
And we still have one vacancy?
We have 2 vacancies, actually. 2, yeah.
So it's
Usually
a
there's
7-person
Yeah.
committee. So if anybody in the audience wants to apply, those positions are available. Okay, so we need to approve the annual report. Or I guess we just acknowledge acceptance of it. which
Yeah,
isn't.
yeah, we don't need to approve it.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I don't know. It says action.
I think we
Okay.
have in the past.
So we'll approve
Yeah.
we'll approve the annual
Be safe.
report.
Let's do it.
A motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee annual report.
Second.
Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. So we pulled an item from the consent calendar, 6.3.9, and put it in this spot on the regular calendar. It's because there was a mistake in the number of hours.
Yeah, it was listed as a full-time position. It's an 80% position, 6 hours a day.
So with that correction, we can go ahead and approve that resignation, right?
Yep.
Any questions?
Why'd you choose to put it here?
Pardon?
Why'd you choose to put it here?
I don't know. I just had to pick a spot.
My only question. Also move to approve 6.3.9 with the modification to 6 hours a day.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second?
Student
Please call the
trustee
roll,
Horn?
Aaron.
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. 9.11, consideration of resolution 2023-10 regarding the formation of the Mendocino Unified School District Maintenance Assessment District, ordering the improvements as described and confirming the diagram and assessment, levy of assessment for the fiscal year. Should this be 23-24?
Yes, it should be.
And I don't know if in the resolution, let's see. 9/11.
The resolution states 23-24.
So it should be 20, it's correct. The resolution is correct.
Right, the resolution is correct.
Okay. I have a motion to approve this resolution.
I move to approve Resolution 2023-10.
Second.
Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. 9.12, consideration of Resolution 2023-11 regarding the Educational Protection Account. So the board is required to approve the expenditures of monies in the EPA and certify that the expenditures are in compliance with the guidelines. And I think all the funds went into salaries, isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct. It goes into instructional salaries.
And that's, in accordance with the guidelines, and that's what the resolution states. So would someone like to make the motion?
I will so move.
Second.
Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. 9.13, consideration of Resolution 2023-12 in the matter of delegation of authority to purchase supplies, equipment, and services. This is something we do annually at this time. Did we keep the same threshold amount, or did
I believe it stayed the same.
stay the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? So would someone make the motion to approve Resolution 2023-12?
I move that we approve Resolution 2023-12.
A second?
Aaron, please call the roll.
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. 9.14, consideration of Resolution 2023-13 regarding the authorization for 23-24 interfund transfers. This is, again, something we do every year at the end of the fiscal year. And we zero things out, and then we start again with that money coming right back 1 second after July 1st. Am I correct, Meg?
There. So this first one is get grants. This grants Jason and or I the ability to make interfund transfers during 23-24. The next resolution is the closing resolution that you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one is to allow us to do interfund transfers as we need them for next year.
Thank you for correcting me. So we're voting on, or we're discussing 2023-13 for the interfunds transfers. Someone make a motion?
Also move to approve 2023-13.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. Finally, 9:15, consideration of resolution 2023-14 regarding the authorization of interfund temporary cash transfers at the close of the year. This resolution provides for flexibility under specific parameters to transfer funds between accounts when necessary. Again, I appreciate if someone made the motion.
I'll move to approve 2023-14.
Second?
Aaron, would you please call the roll?
Student trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Griffin?
Yes.
Trustee Morton?
Yes.
Trustee Ohm?
Yes.
Trustee Schaefer?
Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to have a special meeting the 28th, which is a
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
At 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock and here, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, our next regularly scheduled meeting is August 24th. We'll expect to have an earlier meeting in August as well. But with that, we are adjourned.
We think it's going to be August 16th. I haven't heard anybody say it.
Yeah, August 16th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when are we having a meeting at the new high school?
And I swore that we could have this one there, didn't I?
Yeah,
Know what
I think you
said?
did.
I did.
Wasn't ready, so we're hoping maybe one of the August meetings, the second August meeting.
Still think we could have, but.
All right, clerk of the board.